By 1989, the Cold War had finally begun to thaw. The symbolic Iron Curtain tumbled to the ground with the actual concrete of the Berlin Wall. And those aging tensions that kept the Soviet Union and the United States in a 40-year stare-down had finally started to ease. All over the world, it seemed there may actually be peace at the end of the tunnel. Everywhere, that is, except the gaming industry. Just a few weeks before East Berlin finally opened its border, Nintendo and Atari started a battle of their own. And it was all over this timeless, masterful puzzle game. This is Tetris, a game that would ultimately become one of the greatest of all time, but only after setting the stage for one of the ugliest wars in gaming history. Though the first shots were really fired in 1989, the game itself had already been around for half a decade. When Moscow began to market the rights to Tetris, several gaming companies obviously came calling. But the legal aspects of the ensuing agreements weren't entirely clear, at least not to Atari. You see, Atari was given the rights to Tetris, but only to produce arcade versions. The console and handheld rights, on the other hand, belonged exclusively to Nintendo. What came of these muddled agreements was a clash of industry juggernauts. Through their Tengen Games division, Atari released an unlicensed version of Tetris for the Nintendo Entertainment System in May of 1989, obviously crossing the rules of the agreement, and after just a month on store shelves, a US district court barred Tengen from distributing that version of Tetris. They ordered the company to destroy all existing copies, more than 250,000 of which were recalled and obliterated. Now, Tengen and Nintendo would remain embroiled in heated legal battles for several years, but just a few months after the court's injunction, a victorious Nintendo released this version, the official NES version of Tetris. So why the history lesson? Well, because I find it extremely interesting, and because, quite frankly, what more can you say about Tetris? No matter which version of the game you've played over the years, the premise has always been the same. Falling shapes comprised of 4 blocks, hence the name derived from the Greek tetra, meaning 4, fall from the top of the screen to the bottom. Players are tasked with simply rotating the shapes as they fall, the point of which is to make them fit with the other pieces and create solid lines. But what makes this simple game so ingenious? What makes us compelled, even today, to play Tetris? Now, its simplicity obviously has something to do with it, but perhaps more than any other, Tetris embraces those fundamental principles upon which the very concept of the video game was founded. Using basic electronic images to challenge our reflexes, our logic, and our coordination. That is what Tetris does, and quite frankly, it doesn't need to do anything else. So this NES version of Tetris was immensely popular, but Nintendo really struck gold when they decided to bundle a portable version of the game with their new portable gaming device, the Game Boy. Now, Tetris did sell more than 3 million copies on the NES, but it sold 11 times as many on the Game Boy. A staggering success which helped Nintendo secure their dominance over the handheld market, a dominance they still have to this day. So if this version is a bit more colorful than you remember, you were probably raised on the Game Boy version, along with roughly 33 million others. However, this is one of the first official versions of Pajitnov's classic, and to this day, it's still one of the best. It's much more colorful and visually well designed than the Tengen version, and it has what is inarguably one of the best 3-song soundtracks ever coded into a video game. But it also inexplicably lacks one very important component: multiplayer. And that's what has really kept this version in the shadow of its Link-capable sister for the Game Boy. You know, the evergreen nature of Tetris is nothing short of remarkable. Decades since it was just a crude prototype, Tetris still has an almost hypnotic ability to captivate the player. Especially in an era in which the industry and its consumers seem to be transfixed by cutting-edge visuals and new methods of control, it's really refreshing to play a game like Tetris. A game so well designed, so gratifying, that it transcends the technology that enables it. As relevant as it's ever been, Tetris is a reminder not only of what makes a video game great, but what makes it timeless. Turns out all you need are 4 blocks and a killer melody.